everyone, it's Katie and Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hi, everybody.
We just did a Patreon video. The review thing. As you know, we do a Patreon, and every month, one of our Patreon patrons who donates a certain amount gets to choose a movie we get to see. And since there wasn't really anything out this weekend, Nick Grugan, who is the person who usually does it at that level, chose a pay-per-view movie. Yeah, direct to video. And it is a brand new movie, which is called, what is it called?
Big Game.
Big Game.
It's a movie.
It's amazing how literal that title is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, okay, I mean, I feel like this is going to have some spoilers in it, because I feel like, I don't know if we...
If you really feel like not getting spoiled by this movie, I'm sorry, you're spoiled by this movie by just knowing what the premise of the movie is.
Yeah.
This is sort of like
let's
cartoonishly 90s kids movie sort of thing.
It is very much that. So it's set in Finland, and this Finnish kid, who I should point out, I looked it up, the kid whose name is Oni Tomila, or maybe Tamala, I apologize, but he is actually a Finnish person. So they got indigenous people.
I really wonder if this was like a Finland movie.
I believe it is.
So it's a Finnish movie that just got a bunch of American actors.
Yeah, just had a bunch of...
That's what I figured it was, but I wasn't sure.
And you know how you can tell? Because they actually had Finnish as the language spoken, and then a bunch of subtitles, so you kind of knew that it wasn't an American movie. But this kid, like it's his 13th birthday, and the tradition is that he has to go out into the wilderness and catch some big game, and when he brings it back the next day, he is officially a man. And the kid is kind of small, on the smaller side. He doesn't know how to use his bow as well. His hands shake. So they are almost the leaders of his community almost say, no, we don't want him to go out, but his dad tells him, no, he's going out. So he goes out, and then at the same time, these terrorists, who are the worst bad guys I've seen in a very long time, Mike is smiling at this, they really are, like, they are the worst part of this movie.
They are very incompetent.
So they set up in the same forest, and they shoot down the Air Force One, and the president, who is played by Samuel L. Jackson, essentially like just barely escapes. But he's trapped in the forest, and one of his Secret Service guys was in on the scheme. And the whole idea is that they actually wanted him to escape the plane. They weren't planning to blow it up. They wanted him to escape the plane so that
they could capture him, sort of like use him as a martyr sort of thing, like, oh, look at the president, he's so, whatever.
Yeah, and then kill him after like 8 days, I think ended up being the plan, but we find this out later, which, by the way, doesn't make sense when you find out who's actually behind it. It does not make sense at all. So essentially it's this. I will say the more enjoyable parts were Samuel L. Jackson, who's getting out of this pod, and he's like, what the heck am I doing? And he meets this kid, and like the interactions between him and the kid, I wouldn't say they were super entertaining, but they were probably the most entertaining part of this movie. I don't know, like, I know we originally said that when we were watching that the kid wasn't a very good actor. I don't think he was as good an actor when he had to speak English. When he was talking with his dad, it was fine. Like, he wasn't as natural with the English language, which in some ways works for the character because the kid clearly could only speak, like, had a really thick accent. You know what I mean? Like, a kid in rural Finland would maybe struggle with English a little bit, but it also meant for a lot of wooden dialogue and stuff. Some of it's the writing too, but I didn't mind. After a while, like, I came to accept Samuel L. Jackson and the kid. They were not the worst part of this movie. As I said, the worst part of this movie were the terrorists. Also, the guy who dropped them off, like, he was just this paid helicopter guy. He's like, so what are you guys doing out here? And they're like, we're hunting big game. Oh, you mean like bears and stuff? Yes, like bears and stuff.
And rocket launchers.
Yeah, and then they're like, we have rocket launchers. And the guy still doesn't get it. He's like, what are you going to do with those? We're going to shoot down the Air Force One. Air Force One, but the president's on there. Yes, that's the idea. Are you people terrorists? That is an actual line of dialogue. Are you terrorists? And the guy's like, well, we are causing you to be quite scared, so yes, I guess we are terrorists. So that happens. And he's like, oh, by the way, you should run because we are going to shoot you. Probably with this giant missile. Which, for me, where they're like, oh, the tests went well. Like, one, you didn't see the guy blow up, so you might have just hit some trees. Two, I don't know, like, I know that you were trying to be badass for, like, the movie's sake, but, like, I have a feeling those missiles were expensive. Just use the guns you have to shoot the random helicopter pilot. It probably would.
We'll get into this later, but seriously, this is the most over-equipped terrorist group in history for what they think is what they have as a simple plan. And they have, like...
It's not even that simple, though, and it's convoluted for no reason, especially when you find out again later what happens. Like, there's no reason for them to do this. In the middle, it almost makes sense, like, oh, they have a very specific way that they want to do this. Also, for what, in the middle, the one main terrorist guy, who, by the way, we have been told doesn't care about anything politically. He's just crazy. Even though it kind of is unclear whether the person saying that is truly, like, honest or not. But still, like, the whole time, you're just like, wow, that makes for, like, the most two-dimensional... Like, usually when you have even a terrorist bad guy, there's some, like, motivation besides he just likes to be crazy. But yeah, he was like, he's not religious, he doesn't care about politics, he doesn't care about money. I'm like, this is not making for an interesting character. So anyway,
he just does things because he's crazy.
So I will say this much. I think the best part of this movie, one of the things that actually makes it stand out, even though I don't know if people will like this about the movie, is that Samuel Jackson does not turn into Harrison Ford in Air Force One in this movie. He is not this really big badass. He actually is, and one of the reasons why the Secret Service guy turns on him is that he doesn't think he's a capable enough leader, that he's not a true, like, hard-fisted sort of leader. And the fact is that Samuel L. Jackson, he's not a fighter. He is a politician. And so when he tries to fight back and protect himself and he throws a punch, he throws it like a guy who has not thrown many punches in his life. And I found that really refreshing. All right, so we're going to get back to this. We went out for shakes, so I'm going to get a shake and we will see you in a little bit. And we're back, and I have a milkshake. Ah! The stupid lid just almost came off my milkshake. I don't know if you can see. There. Oh, crap! And now Mike just...
What?
Well, Mike just broke, or not braked really fast and scared the bejesus out of me. Oh, whoa. Sorry. I'm back. We have the milkshakes. So, this movie. So yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is not like a super action hero in this. And I thought it was refreshing because usually that's like, you know, the random hero the random protagonist gets put into hero mode. And for the most part, like, they play it out like he's not an action hero. And I thought that was kind of refreshing. Now, if they were trying to say that it was Obama, it was like, because, you know, it's another black president character. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. But the fact is that, like, the whole idea of him being, like, having to be this macho man was kind of a trend throughout the whole movie, and it tied back into the kid, where the kid's not very good at hunting, but that doesn't mean that he's inadequate, and, like, them coming to terms with the fact that, like, okay, my mission is actually to keep you safe. That's gonna be what I do to make myself a man.
At this point in the movie, the terrorists track down the boy and the president. Really, it's the Secret Service guy, and then he radios the terrorists, and they bring their helicopter over. And they reveal their big plan that
they're going to stuff him.
We're gonna hold you captive for 7 days, and then we're gonna stuff you and use you as a hunting trophy.
See, the big game is literally big game. They were literally going to hunt him. Kind of like they were actually just going to hunt him into the pod originally, because they were totally going to just grab him from his pod until he got out of that thing. So okay, we should talk about the fact that there are actually quite a few American characters in this who are somewhat played by American actors, but not entirely. But there are all these character actors, and we have them up that play like the cabinet, or the CIA / like the president's cabinet.
I don't know. They're in some kind of situation room that's not really based on anything in any presidential movie
and
ever.
They somehow have like targeting systems. And also, it doesn't make sense why one particular character has the idea to get all the cameras to face. Basically, not everything in this movie is necessarily bad, but the bad guys in it are the dumbest thing ever. But, so Victor Garber plays the vice president, so it's like, wait, that's Victor Garber. And I was like, wait, Felicia Huffman, oh, she apparently was the CIA director. And then, I'm looking to see what else.
Jim Broadbent.
Jim Broadbent plays, his name is just Herbert, but he's some kind of specialist. They don't explain what he's the specialist of, but he knows how to do stuff. And then Ted Levine, who is another person I swear I recognize, played a general. So there are a bunch of these character actors playing all the American characters, even though Jim Broadbent's American accent was not convincing. I could hear his British one just underneath the surface. So anyway, for some reason they can target really quick, I'm going to explain this. They were able to target satellites so they could keep tracking the president. And alright, spoiler alert, Jim Broadbent is part of the bad guys because he wants to see the president assassinated. But it doesn't make
Basically, their whole plot on this end was that eventually assassinating the president would make him a martyr and prove that the war on terror was still needed. And my phone just went to Google mode.
And it just
Googled all that.
It just Googled his last sentence.
But anyway, that's going to be a very odd Google search history.
Yeah, I'm really afraid of what of what the government is thinking with that last.
Anyway,
I included my phone just went to Google now. By the way, if you want to see, I don't know if you. Oh shoot, I'm not doing that well. Sorry, this is what happens when I. Here, can you see?
No, that's not gonna work.
No, it did work.
Whatever.
Anyway, we're really tired. All right, let's just get to the end. So again, we find out at the end. First of all, they manage to save the day. The kid saves the president. There's this thing where they're like rolling in this big box for a while. There is a part where they set up a campfire, and the motivational speech that the president gives tells the kid about how he once accidentally got pee on his pants right before the State of the Union address, and how he basically faked his confidence for it and was able to hide the fact that he had a big pee stain. And I'm like, yeah, if you really needed to hear Samuel L. Jackson talk about pee stains in a movie, this is the movie for you. Yeah, so that happened. So, anyway, so the kid saves him. They go over a waterfall at one point. Then they get back into the plane to protect themselves, and one of the terrorists gets betrayed. I'm going through this really fast because, to be honest, it's fairly convoluted. They end up using the
giant explosive device to blow up the rest of Air Force One.
Yeah, and the way that they survived, which I have to admit was, all right, it wasn't super clever, but it was something. It at least showed that they had some initiative, because a lot of it was just them being really lucky up until this point. But they end up using the ejector seats from the plane's cockpit to shoot up and to But the one bad guy is still on the helicopter, so the kid shoots an arrow at him, and it turns out it barely taps him.
The arrow hits him right in the chest.
And here's the thing: 30 minutes before, this particular bad guy out of nowhere tells one of the other bad guys in a threatening tone how he had a bullet lodged in his heart, and any sudden move, any particular movement could lodge it in and kill him. And Mike and I were both going, well, this seems like an odd thing to bring up to someone who could potentially betray you. And so it turns out that whole speech was to set up the part later on where the boy's arrow, which barely dinged him, ended up just barely moving that bullet right in the right spot. To kill him, and then he also accidentally shoots up the plane or the helicopter, and the helicopter falls. Then the explosion happens, and the dad and the community members are all looking around, and suddenly the fish are falling, and I'm going through this fast because it really is ridiculous. And the Secret Service / Army or whatever comes, and they're like, oh, we think the president's dead. He couldn't have survived that explosion. And so the vice president's is told, well, you're going to have to take the presidency. And he's like, well, I guess I have to. And then, and I was like, that's really quick. I wonder if Victor Garber is also working for the bad guys. This seems like this could be the possibility. So then, oh wait, no, the president and the kid survived, and the kid's a hero to his people, because apparently they do accept presidents as big game rewards, which is lucky, but kind of weird, because they're basically saying, I captured and brought back a black man. Just a little weird. So anyway, so the people in America are cheering, they're happy. Then Jim Broadbent goes to the bathroom, and Victor Garber and them both go in and talk about their evil plan out in a bathroom where anybody can walk in, which seems like a bad idea to me. And then spoiler alert, Jim Broadbent flat out murders Victor Garber by just smashing his head against the sink, and then framing it so it looked like he slipped, which still, your hands are still on him.
And then he shakes his hair in front of the mirror, and it's like, yeah, your hair is gonna get all over
him. Yeah, you're gonna get hair follicles and stuff. And I'm pretty sure the death of the vice president is gonna be looked at pretty closely, especially right after the president almost died a few times. But anyway, apparently Jim Broadbent's evil character just walks away from all this, but it's okay because the boy gets his picture of honor, which was the thing at the beginning of the movie where everybody who gets a big game takes a picture of it, and so he gets a picture with the president, which again, kind of weird. So this movie, we only got 2 minutes left on the camera battery, so we'll be quick. This movie's okay. It's certainly not the worst random movie we've ever seen. I think it's not as insulting as a lot of movies we've seen.
It's also a kid's movie, so it's
more. Well, I don't know about that. There was some murder going on.
Yeah, but
there were some flat out people that just got smashed on rocks.
True.
But it does have a lot of that 90s vibe, like Taming the Wilderness sort of movies. I feel like we've seen this movie, seen versions of this movie before. I would say if you can watch it on Netflix, watch it there. If you can get that at some point, I wouldn't actually pay for this. I wouldn't pay extra for it.
Yeah, I agree.
Anything else?
This movie is just so off the wall and bizarre.
Like I said, if you're really looking for kind of a weird Samuel L. Jackson movie with a lot of weird character choices and character actors, and I think that this would be an interesting one, but I wouldn't pay money for it. So that's kind of how I feel. Wait for Netflix. Katie and Mike, justplainsomething.com, and we'll see you later.
time. Oh,